I think it's really important that all filmmakers, all creatives have a community where they can showcase that. And for this, it's the Asian community and it's the Asian storytellers and creatives doing their thing and creating their art and telling their stories. And I think we've seen more now than ever.
Hello, everyone. Talal Azim here from Popcorn and Soda, and I'm very excited today to be discussing the Toronto Real Asian International Film Festival, which is taking place from November 13th to November 24th across various locations in the city of Toronto. We're joined today by one of our finest Canadian creatives working today. You know him from Kim's Convenience, Run the Burbs, and will be a part of various different projects throughout the festival. We're very excited today to be joined by Mr. Andrew Phung. Andrew, it's a pleasure having you here today, man. How are you doing?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, it's my pleasure. And it's that time of the year. The Real Asian Film Festival is here, and a festival that showcases so many different unique contemporary films in cinema. And I just love this festival because it's held in this diverse mosaic of a city in Toronto, right? You can't walk down the street without seeing someone of a different background. And I think it's just the perfect place for this. We're full swing into the festival. Opening night was yesterday. How are you feeling about this year's festival? Like, how are the vibes going into it?
Well, we got Taylor Swift in town, so I think the vibes are off the charts right now. The city is buzzing, and I think I love this festival because every year I feel like creatives are leveling up, and it's an opportunity to like showcase what they've been doing and what they're up to, and I think that's really important. I think it's really important that all filmmakers, all creatives have a community where they can showcase that. And for this, it's the Asian community and it's the Asian storytellers and creatives doing their thing and creating their art and telling their stories. And I think we've seen more now than ever. Um, Stories that represent Asian communities, Asian realities, Asian experiences. So I'm so happy that this festival is happening, and I love that I'm available to be around and part of it this year because I've so rarely been available for it. So I'm happy to be here.
Well, we love that. And we love having you a part of it because you are one of the prominent Asian voices within our community of the creative arts within Canada. And you're just a shining light in that with all that you've done in the past and what you continue to do. Like you kind of mentioned, right? The city's buzzing right now. We've got Taylor in the house. She's going to be here for pretty much the entire festival as well. So everyone's just going crazy about that. And it's just feeds off one another the way I see it. And again, like Canada is such a beautiful place with our diversity. I feel like a festival like this gives those creatives that may not have a voice to be able to show their voice and show their artistic strength. So I know you kind of spoke about how this festival is important to you. Now, over the years, it's grown so much. Where do you see this festival this year in terms of what it's bringing to the table?
Well, honestly, I think like the industry as a whole is in a really tough place. Like we're seeing networks reevaluating how they commission projects. We're seeing a big slowdown in the projects that are being commissioned. And we're seeing a change in how the audience consumes our work. So I think it's a year to really evaluate what is working, and we're going to see some changes. And it's an opportunity to pivot. And I think artists as a whole have always adapted and found new ways of being creative. So I'm excited to see the pivots and changes that are happening in the community. I'm excited to see, like when creatives maybe move on to different careers. It's an opportunity for new creatives to come through. So I love meeting the next generation of emerging talent. I love being reintroduced to people that have left the industry that are coming back. A little bit older, a little bit more mature, a lot more wiser. And so for me, I think that's where we're at. This is like a very transitional year. And we're just reevaluating where we're at, what we're doing, and looking for new ways to be creative.
Well, you've got your fingerprints all over this festival this year, man. So let's start with the film Lucky Star. I just love the premise of this film as it depicts the struggling family. And it adds that extra added layer of seeing it from the perspective of a family of a diverse background, which again just adds that cultural dynamic and that shift that isn't necessarily what you would see in these types of movies. So you're part of the ensemble cast of this film. What drew you to this project?
Uh, initially Gillian McKercher, who directed this film, reached out to me, and she's a friend, and wrote me like a very serious letter. And it was like, Andrew, this is an official request for you to be in this film. The role of Darren um, is the main character's best friend, but also his conscience. And it is a role unlike anything I've ever seen you do. And I was like, oh, damn, all right. Laying down the gauntlet for me. And it was. It's a dramatic role. It's very grounded. It's a very earnest, thoughtful character. It isn't a goofy, silly goofball. It's like it isn't a comedic role. And that was the thing that really drew me to it. The fact that the film has moments of laughter, but is very grounded. It is a serious film, and I love being able to do something different. So that's what drew me to the character. But the film as a whole, what drew me to the film was that it is a honest look at gambling addiction and the choices we make that fuel those addictions and fuel those pitfalls. And I felt really um, connected to it because gambling addiction is something that runs so deeply in Asian communities and has had a history in my larger family. So I connected to that part of it, and so it felt like we were making a film about something that is often that is relatable, that we are aware of, but is often unspoken.
What's fascinating to me, Andrew, is that this film is set in Calgary, but equally as important is that some of the creatives behind the film have deep roots personally in that city. Someone like yourself from Calgary, you speak about the importance of Calgary's fabric that plays in this story.
Yeah, like I think that's something that's really underrated about Calgary is that it's so diverse. Calgary has such large pockets of Asian communities, Asian families, but Somali, Sudanese, South Asian, Indian, Pakistani. Like a lot of when we look at immigration patterns to Canada, a lot of families and individuals in these communities end up in Calgary because there was work, and so when these families come over and they set up a life and build a life here, they become a part of the city. And so I think we often hear about the Calgary Stampede and cowboys from Calgary, but I don't like, when people find out about me, they're like, whoa, you're an Asian comedian from Calgary? And I'm like, yeah. And I talk about it. I'm like, Calgary was such a loving place. It was really nice to be able to build an audience, and there wasn't as much pressure as a Vancouver or Toronto. So there are so many diverse creatives coming out of Calgary. And to tell a story about Calgary, but not about the Calgary that is the Westerns. It's about Calgary as it is today, is really nice. So there's these really nice pockets of Calgary, whereas we're used to seeing these stories in a Vancouver or Toronto or LA or New York. Seeing it in Calgary makes it feel really grounded and really different and really fresh. And so that's what I love about Jillian's work. She's been so connected to the city that a lot of her past work and stuff that she's produced has lived and breathed Calgary. So I think there's specificity to what she's doing, and I think that's really refreshing and nice. And I think that all of that lends itself to this film. It feels so alive. It feels like you are a fly on the wall watching this family make terrible decisions, and you want to reach out and say no, don't do that, but at the same time you see yourself in them, and that's something I really took away from this film.
And I love that because we're getting to a point now where we're having second generation, third generation immigrants who've come from Asia. And now they're getting to tell their stories from their own perspective because they had a chance to go through elementary, high school, college, university. And it's different. Everyone's got a different story, but especially people from Asian backgrounds. Being South Asian myself personally, our view and our reality is a little different than people who may have had generations of people and family that grew up here. So I think I love the most about a film like this is we get to see a perspective that's very honest and sincere to how people deal with daily life in a society like this. So favorite day on set and most challenging day on set.
A favorite day on set was probably my first day because I got to meet Terry and Olivia, and when Asian creatives meet up in the real world is really nice because I've been a fan of both of them. Olivia, who's a star of Warrior, and then Terry, who's been in literally everything, and literally an Asian OG in this country for actors. Um, and it was nice just to connect as people, you know. And Terry has roots in Calgary now, and Olivia, um, originally from Edmonton, I believe. And so, you know, just to share our stories and our paths was really nice. So my first day was really nice. I'll also say there's a really funny improvised scene where I got a son in the film, and sometimes Julian, our director, would just let me like improvise. It didn't make the final cut, but I'm picking him up from Chinese school, and he comes out and he like wasn't happy to be at Chinese school. And obviously, like, you know, when you're a kid, you don't want to go to language school. And I'm like, what'd you learn today? And he's like, you know, Chinese. And I'm like, show me. And he like did not know what to do. I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought, and walked out. And that was really fun because he was a young actor who was just being thrown into it. And I found out that he was a fan of Kim's Convenience. So I'm happy that we were able to have that moment act together. Um, I think toughest day on set was there's a day we filmed at a community associate like the Lion Dancers training center, and I had to really tap into my disdain of Lucky and resentment towards him because he had really hurt his best friend, and so that was not tough in a bad way, but just tough in a way that I had to like really ground myself and like really tap into that. And like you know, people who know my body of work know me as like comedy guy, and so when I swerve the other way, I got to really tap into some human emotion and some real life experiences to get to that level.
Now, it's interesting you brought that up. Do you find that you have a preference? Because we know you as this comedic genius, and now you're playing a role that's pretty much polar opposite. Yes, there's elements of that comedy in there, but it's truly human and it's truly more dramatic. How'd you find having that turn of roles in a movie like this?
I love comedy. I love doing comedy. That's my background. That's my first love. But I love doing new things, you know, and so the opportunity to do something dramatic, something really grounded, something really earnest was really nice. And I'm happy to do it and I'd love to do more. And it's just, you know, finding more opportunities. But I've always been known in the comedy world. And I think it's because I've always been a goofball and I've always been silly. And so I love both, but comedy is my first love. But if I could do more dramatic work, I would happily do it. This was a joy to be able to do.
Right on. For everyone tuning in, Lucky Star will be available on demand from November 18th through Sunday, November the 24th. Now, Andrew, another really cool project that you are part of is the closing night of the festival where you'll be hosting So You Think You Can Pitch. This is such a great opportunity for filmmakers, aspiring filmmakers. Can you talk about what this project is going to bring and just the overall resources that are now being provided to aspiring filmmakers?
Well, this event is going to be a vibe. This is the closing night party. We're going to do a fun evening where filmmakers are going to pitch their ideas, their short film ideas to a group of panelists. They're going after some money. So I love that. I love taking the Shark Tank Dragon's Den vibe and bringing it in real life. And if you've never been to one of these events, it is so much fun because you feel like you're part of it. And for me as the host, I'm engaging that audience. We're going to have some laughter, but we're honestly going to see the emerging filmmakers and the stories they want to tell. Um, and so that's the first portion. Then we're going to be giving away some money. We're giving away some money, some projects. And for people who are interested in the arts and interested in Asian stories and voices, this is such a great event to keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening in our community. And honestly, like I always tell people, I'm like, if you hear a great idea and you got $50 that you can spare, put it towards that filmmaker. They're going to put it to great use. And then afterwards, we're going to award some money and then we're going to have a party to celebrate the festival. And I love that because I love a great party. But more so, I love a party that's deeply rooted in celebrating our successes, celebrating our voices and our stories. And so this event is open, honestly, to everyone. It is the Real Asian Film Festival, but the Asian community, you know, we've seen that in our celebrations, our Lunar New Year, in our culture. We want to share it. We want to open it up to everyone. So honestly, this event, this party, this festival is open to everyone.
Love it. And as part of the Asian community, we love inviting others in and sharing our culture and just vibes with everyone. Like you said, it's going to be a vibe. I can
Yeah,
just,
man.
I can
Look,
tell.
that's what I love about celebrations in Toronto and Canada, like Lunar New Year, Diwali, like it's invitations of like, yo, come to my party, come celebrate. And I love that that's what this country has been about. It's about celebrating culture. And to me, all holidays are like somewhat similar. Like, look, all holidays, we want to eat, we want to drink, we want to have some fun, we want to dance, right? Sometimes there's gifts, sometimes there's not, but there's always sick outfits. And so for me, like I love that um this festival is all about joy. And I think that it's important to celebrate that right now. It's important to stop and celebrate the joy in our culture and our communities.
For those tuning in, you can find more information, show times, and purchase tickets at realasian.com. Be sure to check out the projects we spoke of today and all the other amazing projects that are screening. Lastly, to wrap up, Andrew, I got to ask, what is your favorite shoe from that backdrop and what is your favorite belt? Because dang, you're
Oh,
stacked.
my favorite shoe is these shattered backboards. I booked Kim's Convenience wearing these shoes. I did my scene with Paul Sun Young Lee, Appa, and Kimchi at the toilet from episode 9, I believe, of Kim's Convenience. I wore these. These have a very special, near and dear place in my heart. And for belts, I don't know. It's probably like an Intercontinental because that's the belt Bret Hart had.
Oh, yeah.
Bret the Hitman Hart from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And so when he had that belt, that's what really got me into wrestling. So the Intercontinental title is my favorite belt.
It's always a classic. The workhorse title,
Yeah, yeah.
You brought the respect back to that
Yeah,
belt recently as
yo,
well.
it's a lot. We become best friends. We become best friends up in here.
I think we're becoming best friends. I think we're
Yeah,
becoming best friends.
yeah.
Right on, man. And again, Andrew, congrats, man, on all your upcoming projects. Like I mentioned up top, you're such a shining light in the Canadian film and television industry, and keep rocking it. You bring the vibes, you bring the fun, you bring the joy. I wish you all the best at the festival, and I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it.